We live in a world where emotions are often seen as a weakness. From the time we're kids, we're taught to toughen up, to play it cool, to avoid getting too attached. Don't wear your heart on your sleeve, they say. Don't let them know how you feel too soon. These messages don't just shape our behavior, they shape our fears. And one of the biggest fears people carry, the fear of rejection. Rejection is painful. It stings. It's personal, even when it isn't meant to be. And because of that, people will go to great lengths to avoid it. They will hide how they feel, suppress their emotions, and even push away the very thing they want the most. It's a defense mechanism, an attempt to protect themselves from the possibility of getting hurt. For many, this fear doesn't come from nowhere. It's rooted in past experiences. Maybe they opened up to someone before and were met with silence. Maybe they cared too much once and were left feeling like a fool. Maybe they saw others around them get rejected and decided, I'll never let that happen to me. Over time, these experiences build walls that make it easier to pretend, to act indifferent, to deny feelings even when they're burning inside. But here's the thing, emotions don't just disappear. They don't fade because someone refuses to acknowledge them. Instead, they show up in different ways. The person pretending not to like you, they might avoid eye contact because looking at you too long would give them away. They might brush off your compliments because deep down, they don't know how to accept them without letting their guard down. They might tease you, challenge you, or even seem disinterested, not because they actually don't care, but because admitting they do feels too risky. This behavior is common because fear of rejection isn't just about the other person, it's also about self-worth. Many people wrestle with the idea that they aren't enough. They assume that if they reveal their true feelings, they'll be judged, dismissed, or seen as weak. So instead, they choose control. They pretend not to care because it gives them the illusion of power, the ability to walk away before they get hurt. And let's not forget societal conditioning. In some cultures, in some friend groups, and in some personal experiences, people, especially men, are taught that showing emotion is a sign of vulnerability. They're told to play it cool, to make them chase, to never be the one who cares more. These mindsets don't just disappear overnight. They shape the way people act, even when their heart is screaming something different. Sometimes the fear of rejection is so strong that it leads people to do the exact opposite of what they want. They don't just hide their feelings, they sabotage them. They create distance, pick fights, or act cold, all as a way to convince themselves they never cared in the first place. Because if they can convince themselves, maybe they won't have to face the possibility of losing something that never even got a chance to begin. For some, it's not just rejection they fear, it's change. When emotions become real, things shift. Relationships evolve, dynamics change, and the comfort of pretending disappears. Change is uncertain, and for someone who has spent their life guarding their heart, uncertainty can feel terrifying. People often assume that if someone truly liked them, they would be honest about it, that they would make a move, say how they feel, be bold and upfront, but that's not always how it works. Fear is powerful. It can make even the most confident person hesitate, question themselves, and second guess their every action. It can turn a simple truth, I like this person, into a battle between heart and mind. And the sad part, many times, these emotions never get fully expressed. Two people can go through life dancing around each other, pretending, hiding, waiting for the other to make a move. All because one or both are too afraid to say, I care. Fear keeps them apart. Fear silences them. Fear convinces them that pretending is safer than trying. But the reality is, fear is a liar. It convinces people that rejection is worse than regret. It tells them that being vulnerable will lead to pain. It makes them believe that hiding their feelings will protect them when in truth it often does the opposite. Because while rejection stings, regret lingers. The what ifs never really go away. The unanswered questions don't fade. And the longer someone pretends, the more they risk missing out on something real. Words are easy. They can be controlled, calculated, and carefully chosen to hide what someone truly feels. But actions, Actions are raw, unfiltered, and often unconscious. They reveal the truth even when someone is trying their hardest to conceal it. When someone pretends not to like you, their words might tell one story, but their behavior tells another. They might say they're not interested, but do they always find an excuse to be around you? Do they light up when you enter the room, even if they quickly try to mask it? Do they remember small details about you, things you barely even recall saying? These are not the actions of someone who is indifferent. These are the actions of someone fighting an internal battle, someone whose feelings are slipping through the cracks despite their best efforts. Body language is one of the biggest indicators of hidden emotions. It's often said that 93% of communication is nonverbal, and that's because our bodies react before our minds can intervene. When someone is pretending not to like you, watch their posture. Do they lean in slightly when you talk, even if they quickly pull back? Do they mirror your movements without realizing it? Do their eyes linger on you a little longer than they should? These are signs of attraction, signs of interest, signs that their body is betraying the words they speak. Then there's proximity. Someone who doesn't care won't go out of their way to be near you. They won't find excuses to sit next to you, to walk in step with you, to show up at the same places you do. But someone who is pretending, they might try to make it look like coincidence, like they just happened to be there, like it wasn't intentional. But if it keeps happening, it's not a coincidence, it's a pattern. Pay attention to the way they treat you in group settings. If they truly didn't like you, there would be no emotional shift. But if they avoid eye contact when others are around, if they seem tense or extra careful with their words, if they act different toward you than they do with everyone else, that's a sign of internal conflict. They don't want people to see what they're feeling, but their discomfort gives it away. Look at their reactions when you interact with others. If they're unaffected, they truly don't care. But if their energy shifts when you give attention to someone else, if they suddenly become distant, irritated, or overly sarcastic, it's not indifference. It's jealousy disguised as nonchalance. Jealousy isn't loud in those who are trying to hide their feelings. It's subtle, slipping through intense smiles, forced laughter, and an attempt to act like it doesn't bother them. Another undeniable action, the small thoughtful gestures. Someone who pretends not to like you won't outright say, "I care about you," but they'll show it in ways they don't even realize. They'll remember your favorite coffee order and bring it by accident. They'll check in on you when you're sick, but play it off as a casual text. They'll notice when you're upset before you even say a word. Someone who is truly indifferent doesn't pay attention to the details. But someone who is pretending, they notice everything, sometimes. Actions come in the form of mixed signals, hot and cold behavior that leaves you confused. One day they're engaging, laughing, making eye contact. The next, they're distant, short, acting as if you don't exist. This isn't randomness, it's emotional tug of war. They let their guard down, then panic and pull back. They get too close, then overcompensate with detachment. The inconsistency isn't a lack of feelings. It's a struggle between what they feel and what they allow themselves to express. Even their silence is an action. When someone cares but is trying to suppress it, they often withdraw. They disappear for a while, not because they don't want to be around you, but because being around you makes it harder to hide. Distance becomes their shield, their way of convincing themselves they have control. But silence isn't neutral. It's a decision, a response to emotions they don't know how to handle. Social media behavior can be another revealing action. They might not text you directly, but do they always watch your stories? Do they accidentally like an old photo and quickly unlike it? Do they post things that seem oddly directed at you, even though they never mention your name? Online interactions give people a way to stay connected without admitting they want to. Then there are the times when their guard slips entirely, when they act on impulse and do something that contradicts everything they've been trying to project. Maybe they defend you in a conversation without realizing it. Maybe they look at you with an expression so raw it leaves no doubt about what they feel. Maybe in a moment of honesty, they let something slip. A compliment, a memory, a confession, quickly followed by an awkward laugh and a change of subject. These are the moments when the truth surfaces, even if only for a second. Actions are the subconscious speaking. They reveal what the mind tries to hide. They are the proof behind the pretense, the reality behind the words. If you want to know how someone truly feels, don't just listen to what they say, watch what they do. Confidence is magnetic. It shifts the energy in a room, changes the way people respond to you, and most importantly, alters how you see yourself. When you embody confidence, everything about the way you interact with the world changes, including how people who are pretending not to like you react to you. Think about it. When someone is unsure of themselves, hesitant, or constantly seeking validation, they give off an energy that others pick up on. This energy can make the person who's hiding their feelings feel even more in control. If they sense that you're seeking their approval, they will continue to hide behind their mask because they know deep down that you're already invested. There's no urgency for them to reveal how they truly feel because in their mind, they don't have to. But when you shift your mindset, when you start carrying yourself with confidence, self-assurance, and the energy of someone who knows their worth, everything flips. Suddenly, they don't have the upper hand anymore. Suddenly, they start wondering if they are the ones at risk of losing you. Confidence isn't about arrogance. It's not about proving anything to anyone else. It's about moving through the world with a deep-rooted belief that you are enough, exactly as you are. When you embrace this belief, you naturally start behaving in a way that draws people in. You stop second-guessing yourself. You stop analyzing every little thing they do or say. You stop waiting for validation and start living as if you already have it. And that shift, that's what makes them take notice. When someone is pretending not to like you, they're used to a certain dynamic. They expect you to overthink, to question, to seek out subtle hints that they care. They're used to having the upper hand because their silence, their distance, their mixed signals create a sense of uncertainty. But the moment you stop playing that game, the moment you stop waiting for them to reveal their feelings, the moment you start living in a way that says, I don't need their approval to know my worth, everything changes. People who hide their emotions do so because they believe they are in control. They believe they can dictate the pace, that they can keep you guessing while they figure out their own emotions. But confidence disrupts that control. When you exude confidence, you're no longer operating on their timeline. You're no longer positioning yourself as someone waiting for them to make up their mind. Instead, you become the one they have to work to keep up with. Confidence is reflected in the way you carry yourself. It's in your posture, your eye contact, the way you enter a room. It's in the way you speak, not in an overcompensating way, but with clarity and certainty. It's in how you respond when they send mixed signals. Instead of analyzing their every move, you acknowledge it for what it is, a sign of their own hesitation, not a reflection of your worth. Confidence also changes the way they see you when you interact with others. When they see you thriving, laughing, and being fully present in your life. Without needing their attention, they start to realize something. They start to see that their feelings, hidden or not, don't dictate your reality. And that realization can be unsettling for them. It forces them to confront something they've been avoiding. The idea that if they don't step up, they might actually lose you. Attraction is deeply tied to confidence. People are drawn to those who know who they are. There's a reason why someone suddenly starts paying attention when they see you being admired by others. There's a reason why they get uncomfortable when they realize you're no longer chasing their approval. It's because confidence creates a shift in power. It takes you from being the one wondering, do they like me, to the one who knows they are desirable, valuable, and worthy of being pursued. When you have confidence, you stop over-explaining yourself. You stop apologizing for taking up space. You stop fearing rejection. Because you understand that rejection isn't a statement about your worth. It's just a mismatch of timing, circumstances, or emotional readiness. And that kind of mindset is rare. It's something that makes people take a second look. It's something that makes even the most emotionally guarded person start questioning why they ever hesitated in the first place. Confidence doesn't mean you don't feel emotions. It doesn't mean you don't care if someone is pretending not to like you. It just means that their uncertainty no longer dictates your emotional state. It means that instead of waiting for them to acknowledge their feelings, you focus on living a life that makes you happy, fulfilled, and thrive. And when you do that, the dynamic shifts. Suddenly, they're the ones wondering if you like them. One of the biggest traps people fall into is waiting for someone else to confirm their worth. They sit in uncertainty, overanalyzing every glance, every interaction, every small detail, hoping for a sign, a moment of clarity, where the other person finally admits, yes, I like you. But what if that moment never comes? What if the person hiding their feelings never finds the courage to say the words out loud? Does that mean you are any less valuable, any less desirable, any less worthy? The truth is, you don't need someone else's validation to know your own worth. You don't need a confession, a grand gesture, or undeniable proof to confirm what your intuition already knows. And most importantly, you don't need to sit around waiting for someone to decide whether or not they are ready to acknowledge their own feelings. When you wait for validation, you give away your power. You place your happiness in someone else's hands. You start living in a state of limbo, constantly searching for clues, constantly wondering if you should hold on or move forward. And in that process, you stop fully living. You start basing your self-worth on something external, on their words, their actions, their ability or inability to be honest about how they feel. But that's a losing game because their hesitation has nothing to do with you. Their inability to admit their feelings is about them, not about your value. Think about how much time and energy you've spent questioning, wondering, hoping. Now imagine what would happen if you took all of that energy and redirected it toward yourself. Imagine if, instead of waiting for their approval, you moved through life as if you were already chosen, already worthy, already more than enough, because you are. People who pretend not to like you are often battling their own insecurities, fears, and internal conflicts. Maybe they've been hurt before. Maybe they don't believe they are ready for something real. Maybe they think that suppressing their emotions gives them control. But none of that has anything to do with you. It's their journey, their struggle, their choice. And you don't have to let their fear become your uncertainty. Stop waiting for them to admit what you already know. Stop analyzing their mixed signals, their subtle hints, their almost confessions. You are not here to play detective with someone else's emotions. You are here to live, to love, to experience life fully without needing permission from anyone else. Waiting for validation keeps you stuck. It keeps you in a loop of self-doubt, constantly questioning whether you are misreading the signs, whether you are overthinking, whether you are good enough. But here's the truth, you were always enough. From the very beginning, before they hesitated, before they pretended, before they even knew your name, your worth was never dependent on their ability to see it. There's a certain kind of power that comes with no longer needing external validation. When you stop waiting for someone to tell you that you are wanted, you start to move differently. You stop over-explaining. You stop looking for reassurance. You stop feeling like you have to earn someone's affection because deep down you realize that real love, real connection, real respect is never something you should have to beg for. And when you embrace that mindset, everything shifts. Suddenly, the person who has been hiding their feelings starts to notice that they no longer have control over the dynamic. They see that you are no longer seeking their approval, no longer lingering in the uncertainty they created. And that realization, it forces them to confront their own emotions in a way they never had to before. Because here's the thing, people who pretend not to like you expect you to wait. They expect you to keep wondering, to keep chasing, to keep hoping for the moment when they finally say what they've been hiding. But the second you stop needing that validation, the second you step into your power and start moving forward regardless of their hesitation, they feel it. They feel the shift. They feel the loss of control. And sometimes that's exactly what it takes to make them realize what they're about to lose. But the real win isn't whether or not they finally admit their feelings. The real win is that you no longer need them to. You no longer need their words, their confession, their acknowledgement to feel secure in yourself. You have reclaimed your time, your energy, and your self-worth, and that is the greatest validation of all.